Check this out, those ceilings. We're here at a multi-million-dollar lodge cottage here. Check this out. Look how thick those counters are. Of course. It's got views of the boathouse out in the lake over here. We got a butler's kitchen. We got a butler's kitchen over here as well. It's got 6 beds, 6 bath, which is kind of cool. Second floor with 5 more bedrooms. Huge catwalk. Anyway, we're doing the live show as always. And you guys have any questions about real estate? Hopefully the internet's working well enough. I'm up here in the Muskokas. So we've got, very limited data, very limited, Wi-Fi. But yeah, hopefully you guys can hear me, can see me. Let me know if things are going well. You can hear me. Let me know. I would say definitely we're going to bring you guys upstairs for a second. Okay. As you can see this. Check it out. Look at that. Those views. 5 more bedrooms up here. I could try and go on Wi-Fi, but again, like this, the signal is very, very spotty. All the bathrooms are quite nice. Cool, people can hear me. Awesome. You guys have any questions? Shoot them down below. What have I been up to in the last week? Well, I've been working hard on several projects. We closed on, tomorrow, we close on 2 parcel hotel deal we did where it was on the ocean in Daytona Beach. And really excited about this one because the sellers are actually walking away with nothing. So the sellers letting us take over the existing mortgage and they're walking away with no equity. They bought it for $1 million more than we're paying them for it a year and a half ago. So it's an interesting deal. Needs some work, needs some love, a little bit of hurricane damage, but I think we can sell the back parcel, which is like a 9-plex, 8 or 9-plex, sell that to pay for almost what we paid for the whole property, get the oceanfront hotel for almost for free, fix it up. Could be a great flip project, could be a good long-term hold. So that's, those are my favorite kind of projects, and I hope to get a lot more of those this year and a lot less of the, the stressful small flips that don't net a whole ton of money. So yeah, anyway, we're here for the week. We're doing a corporate retreat here. I'm hosting all of my favorite people that are part of my business. So my brother, my cousin, our core crew members are all coming down. We're gonna have a couple of us together and we're gonna have a fun time together and go in the hot tub, maybe jump in a cold plunge in the lakes, look out for those videos, do some fun stuff with that. And of course, some masterminding for 2024, because you got to reward your people. You got to get them on the same plan as you. You got to make plans together, and then you got to find a way to make that vision reality. So execution plan as well, right? And one of the things I want to do is start acquiring a lot of units. I've recently just acquired, we got a 23 unit. We picked up an 18, I guess it could be a 20 unit. And then I was part of another project that was, 16 apartments across from the water, which is interesting. I'll be managing that project, potentially a minor partner on that. And then we've got 2 more in the pipeline, another 18 unit that I'm hoping will pan out in Canada as well. And then selling off a bunch of the projects, finishing off our cottage. I'm loving this lodge because I have a lodge, you guys have seen it, very similar to this one, but my lodge is back towards London on the lake, towards Grand Bend. And sorry, how many bedrooms someone just said? So how many bedrooms? I think this has 6 bedrooms, 6 baths in this lodge here up in the Muskokas. And I'm taking a lot of inspiration from this just for my own cottage back home. So I know some of the things to do differently, right? Like as an example, these hand scrape floors are amazing. Like they have a really nice texture to them. I like there's no transitions between all the rooms. It's a really nice high-end finish. I love the tongue and groove cedar ceilings. We also have the same in my cottage. I might stain them to get the same effect going. The feature walls in every room, that's the difference between a $3 million cottage and a $6 million cottage, is those small couple of $1,000s in extras where they go above and beyond. Really the doors are the same. I mean, the hardware is not anything special. You've got your shiplap and stuff like that. So it's great to, the more product you can sample, the more you can see, the more inspiration you can draw into your own projects. And again, I've got a couple of cottage projects, one that's very much similar to this in size and has the potential to be a lot like this. So for me, though this is like a corporate retreat, it also has the tangent benefit of also being an inspiration piece to copy what some of the best designers are doing this is, one of the more maybe not the most, but again, definitely in the top 1% for Muskoka cottages. And the next one I'm going to show you guys, I'll be staying at it in a few days after the new year. We'll be at that one and I'll take some pictures there. That one's even bigger. It's like twice the size of this one, I think, give or take. So that'll be exciting. Any questions, shoot them down below. Hopefully you guys can see me and hear me. I don't know how great the Wi-Fi is here. I'm partly on cell phone data, I'm pretty sure right now. So again, I have like 2 bars on my cell service and I have like 40 gigs on my cell. So we're not going to run out of data, but I mean, just something to kind of deal with in the rural cottage country. Hey, Mike, how was your Christmas? Question, should there be a joint account with your wife? Is this a good way to go? So I guess it kind of depends on you, right? But we've always had our own accounts and a joint account together. And I think joint accounts are super important. At the end of the day, like if you're going to marry someone, they're going to be your significant other, they're ride or die with you. And so when they spend, you spend. When you spend, they spend. And so combining your finances puts you guys together on the same page towards the same goals. I think it links your financial trajectory, and it's probably a smart idea to do that in general, to have a joint account and to feel like you guys are combining towards the same goals. I think you'll get further ahead, but I guess it depends on where you go and where you want to go, I suppose. Each person's different, I suppose, for their situation. Congrats on the recent acquisition. Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. We got a couple of closing, really excited about. We're taking on quite a few units, really. Since what was it? I want to say September, October, I made a goal of acquiring 250 units. Then I'm going to take my foot off the gas for a bit. Oh, I want to tell you guys, I set this down in the vanity here in the bathroom, just because my hand was getting tired. Hopefully I'm pretty far from good signal in this corner of the house probably, but it was a bit more quiet here, and quiet is kind of nice when we're trying to do a live stream. But you guys let me know if it starts cutting out again, you can't hear me. You guys let me know. Move it somewhere else. We can try and sit in this bedroom here, maybe. Might be better. There, is that better? Better, worse? You guys tell me. I wanted to announce. I have Rosehart Capital already, which is like my mortgage fund, but I'm ruminating on this idea of committing me and a couple friends $10 million in capital together. We want to then raise another 90 and do 100 million together and make a small mortgage fund to fund flippers and real estate guys who are just looking for that short-term product to turn around a property. And going through a bank financing is too much effort. It's a lot of time wasted. You pay huge fees to break out of your conventional bank mortgage. We're going to serve that segment of the population of real estate investors who are looking for short-term, bridge financing and flip type products where you're really safe loan to value, like 70% loan to value. You set up the mortgage product so you want them to default. You actually make way more when you take the house back, but you set it up in a way it's a win-win for them too. So as long as they perform well, and they pay their interest, you get a safe, low risk return where you can get like 15% relatively easily. And what I want to do with this fund is take 1% a month of that, pay it out to myself being one of the investors, pay myself out and all the other people in this sort of, like mortgage fund, and then take a small percentage of all the lender fees and the acquisition fees that are above and beyond that 1% a month and reinvest that into some property projects. So we should be able to build $1 billion portfolio over 40 years doing that. So that will be interesting. Well, something I want to cook on the side. I'm just sharing that with you guys. I'm doing that. So yeah, those are some exciting things that are going on in my life. And 2024 is a year of relaxation too. There's going to be a lot of trips planned, a lot of fun stuff along the way. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for 2024. We got less than a week left till the new year. We got a few days left. So if you guys have any last minute projects, this is the time to do it. Spend that time with family at the same time, driving those revenue drivers to the finish line. All right. You guys can see me. It says, how's Florida? It's good. Audio and video is okay. Good. Grinder says, hi Mike, hope you're well. Do you have RESPs for your kids? If so, what do you recommend to invest in? So I do have RESPs for my kids. RESPs are registered education savings plans. The government kicks in like I want to say 25% return automatically on anything you contribute. So you get a 25% ROI, like guaranteed, I believe it is. And then plus whatever whatever you grow it in. And I think I have half of it in the S&P 500 for my kids, and then the other half is in Bitcoin. So, I just think in the next 15 years, there'll be a great exit opportunity where if I have a Bitcoin in my kid's RESP and maybe it's only, 40 grand right now, but it's going to be a 500,000 at some point probably. And I figured that'll be enough for them to use the RESP to buy their first income property. What I want to do is set my kids up with a duplex or a triplex. Each of them get a duplex, triplex. We provide the down payment. We help them qualify for the financing. They have to manage it. It's their own project to turn into whatever they want to do, add bedrooms, make a unit out of it, whatever they want to do. But that house would allow them to live for free and provide enough income to pay for their textbooks and their tuition. So you do is you give them a house when they turn 18. Rather than paying their tuition over 4 years, the same amount of money can just go to buy them a property. And then they can use that to then get through school debt free if they want to. If they don't want to go to school, even better, take the house and start growing it into 2, 3, 4, 5 houses. That's a plan that we can put into place for them. If they don't want it and they don't have interest in that, okay, no problem. Like there's always a place for them in the Rosehart business. If they don't like that either, I'm still gonna be there for them no matter what, right? That's what we do as parents. We want to encourage them to grow and to chase their interests and their passions. But that's the best way you can set your kids up, is definitely to don't give them money. Give them the fishing rod and then teach them how to fish. So that's my my thought on that. Have you converted a cottage at Grand Bend into an Airbnb? So all cottages can be Airbnbs. It's as simple as a rental license, right? I think almost every cottage on the water is on Airbnb in some shape, way, or form. The way you get around it, though, is you just rent the cottage out to someone and then someone else puts it on Airbnb. So your asset is not HST eligible. And the person who's renting that cottage with their business is then able to have the rent they pay you as a deduction. They take all the risk. That's how I set it up as well. I have businesses that rent my cottages and that business puts it on Airbnb. And so I can adjust the rent whenever I want. If I want 1 month to charge them no rent because they're having a tough month, I can do that. You could even set up your own corporation and do that with a partner and rent out your own cottage and avoid a lot of the challenges there. And just look, I'm renting it out long-term. Here's the lease agreement. That person happens to be doing Airbnb, but that's not me. And so you boycott a lot of the challenges in Ontario, they're trying to drop the hammer. They're trying to basically ban Airbnb everywhere and make it really hard, tax the shit out of it. They think that that's going to solve the housing crisis, but it actually doesn't solve the housing crisis. They need to build units and incentivize landlords to build units. That's how you solve a housing crisis. So municipal government, bunch of clowns. I wish they would do a better job, but it is what it is. They got to placate to their base, right? And their base is mostly NIMBYs, not in my backyard. That's the majority of the voting population, is just people who have one property and they don't want Airbnb and they don't want, they want development, but they don't want it in their backyard or in their street. They don't want to bring immigrants onto their street, but they want it. It's like, what? Those are conflicting ideologies. So it's crazy, the municipal government challenges that exist with, a lot of the aging population that is the voting population in most cities being that way. So, yeah. What other questions you guys have on real estate? Let's do some more real estate questions here. What do you do for your renovation work in? So I've done everything along the way. I've worked at framing, drywalling, carpentry, painting, plumbing. I've done electrical run wires. I'm not licensed in any of those trades, but I've done them all. I am jack of all trades, master of none. And that's a very useful skill in the role that I have, which is project manager, coordinator, owner of the building. I have to understand, and I do thankfully understand, every role that I hire for. I have to understand how they do it. So if I hire for a property manager, I have to myself understand how Airbnb works, how property management works. I have to work in that role for a short period of time to understand how it works. And if you're managing, construction flips, you're doing hotel projects, all of that, you need to have that experience, because if you hire a general contractor to do it for you, to wrangle the sub trades for you, they're going to mark it up like 50%, 100%. You're going to lose a large percentage of your margin. In most cases, the renovations aren't fruitful or worth doing if you get taken. So don't get taken in construction. It's very easy to get taken by contractors. And you have to understand that, they'll say, hey, this is a $5,000 job. And you're like, that's a one-day job. I've done this. Here's the steps you have to do. I'm not paying for your knowledge. I'm paying for you to do it. And so you can get a lot cheaper deals when you can pay someone to do it rather than for their expertise that they'll upcharge you 100% on the labor for. Do you pay HST on purchase and sale of properties? So residential properties are exempt from HST. They also rent, what you collect is exempt from HST. And so there is no HST on residential properties. My understanding is I could be wrong on this, but I believe with large multifamily, since you can't charge HST on residential rent, if you buy a 50-unit building that was all residential, there's no HST, I think, because you can't charge HST on the rents. There's no deduction possible. Now, if you were to buy a commercial building, there would be HST on the purchase of it and the sale of it. But when you sell the property or you're doing renovations to the property, all the renovation HST paid to renovate, you can deduct against the HST that you paid on the purchase. And then when you go to sell the building, you can deduct all the HST taxes that you then effectively paid when you bought it. You get a credit back when you sell it, is my understanding, as well as any renovations, any rent you collect along the way can be deductions against the HST. So it's not so bad as it sounds, but yes, there's definitely HST is a component if you're doing Airbnb and that sort of thing. The way around that would be to buy residential property and then do rent. That's residential rent, and residential properties is not HST eligible. So it depends on the types of properties that you're doing. But yes, hotels in Ontario would definitely have HST, and all of the bookings you'd be collecting the revenue would have HST components to it as well. So that would be another thing to think through. Hopefully, if you're generating enough HST deductions, it could be, sort of not an issue. So if you wanted to borrow from Interactive Brokers for a down payment, will the bank ask or care? No, they will not. They will consider you withdrawing your own capital from Interactive Brokers. That's how they will look at it, because you have equity in Interactive Brokers and they see you taking the money out of Interactive Brokers. That's really what's happening, is when you take your money out, the money left over in Interactive Brokers then gets leveraged to continue holding the same stock positions you had before. So really you're taking your own money out, and the money you had there basically gets leveraged up to continue holding a larger amount of portfolio than you have in actual equity in that Interactive Brokers portfolio. Can you start a mortgage fund with $1 million? I don't know about $1 million. It's not a lot of money. It wouldn't be worth it, I don't think. Like, the only way it would make sense to have a mortgage fund would be if you were pooling a lot of capital together. For the longest time, I lent out a few $1 million just personally to people. And I've had my own little mortgage business going where I charge fees for appraisals. I charge fees to set it up. I charge mortgage commitment fees. I charge discharge fees. I charge consulting fees all along the way. And I charge interest on the product. Now, the fees I charge are active income taxed at 12%. The passive interest income is arguably passive income, which would be taxed at 50-something%. So there's disadvantages. But an active fund, if that's what you were doing full time, you're a mortgage broker and you could charge yourself origination fees, you could generate a lot of really tax advantaged income from a mortgage portfolio. And I like it because it's so passive. Where real estate isn't that passive, it's an active business. Unlike lending, if you do it right, is a lot of work up front and then nothing for a long period of time, which is kind of great. Got an offer on a property, Darren says, whereas 65% is from a traditional lender and 35% is funded as a VTB, interest only, and principal paid in year 3. Any red flags to this type of structure? Well, that sounds amazing because you're putting zero money down. If the lender is okay with you putting no money down, they're okay with the seller putting basically all the money down, it's a very, very interesting product. We looked at that on a hotel project. They have SBA loans that go in the second position from the bank. So you get seller financing in first, and then the bank comes in second. It's a very, very interesting product. It allows you to put very, very little money down and generate amazing ROI if the project can generate enough income to service both the vendor seller, like the seller financing or the VTB financing, as well as the traditional financing. So run your numbers very conservatively, make sure it's generating enough cash on cash return that you have some contingency, you have some additional funds there in case things don't go exactly as you might think they would. Would your arm lend on US property? No, Canadian only. The lending rules in the US are not as good as they are in Canada. In Canada, you have really good recourse. Recourse mortgages mean I can go after them personally. If they screw up, I can go take their car, I can go and rob their house and take all of their clothes off their back. I can personally garnish their wages. And the US mortgages are a lot more difficult to collect on. And so the asset isn't as safe as an asset in, say, Ontario, where I can secure against a house, get a personal guarantee, go in first secure position. I'm a realtor here. I have lots of connections here. The best case scenario is they stop paying me and I take the house because I've undervalued and underwritten the deal such that I want the house. They lose all their equity. If I put 70% down, they put 30% down, and I see that the deal's actually worth maybe another 20% of margin exists there, I take that entire margin as profit when I take the deal back if they don't pay and they default, and I take all of their equity. Their down payment is gone. I get paid before they get paid. So if anything's left over after all the default fees, they get some of their money back. That's how lending is set up. So really, in Canada and in Ontario specifically, I guess Alberta is different because there's recourse versus non-recourse mortgage. But in Ontario, the lender really has a lot of power. And it takes time to go through the court process and to go through the default process. But you have a lot more power. So I definitely would prefer to stay where I have that expertise and that power and the laws on my side. It's not to say that I won't expand at some point into the US, but for now, I'm going to stick to my roots here in southwestern Ontario. We used to be buying a 60 unit. I was never looking at a 60 unit, I don't think. There's a 165 unit that we were looking at, and we're still actively working through and negotiating on. I'm hoping that still comes together at some point. The seller, we're discussing seller financing and some creative options to put the deal together. Some of these bigger deals, like these 200 unit deals, you do songs and dance. In this market, you can do a song and dance for, we might dance for 4 to 6 months before we come to terms. And there may be multiple versions of the contract. This sort of thing happens. Even in like a big cottage like this, it's actually, I think it's for sale up in the Muskokas, I believe. If you guys want to book something like this, hit me up for the link. It's a buddy of mine's place, and we rented it from them, so I can give you guys a link. You can rent it as well. So shameless plug for them. But yeah, this is like something like this would take a long time to sell because, the luxury market does not have a quick buyer turnaround. Like time to market is often weeks of staging and photos and a marketing plan. You put it on the market, the buyer might not see it right away. Someone who's going to buy this place has millions of dollars. And that person isn't checking MLS every day often. They might be a successful business person from Toronto. And the realtor might bring it to them. They're so busy, they don't look at the email for 2 weeks. They finally see the place. They're like, oh, I'm too busy. I'm on business trip. I'll come down and look at this place. I'll book a showing 3 weeks from now. So it's just the nature of it. It can take 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 weeks. It can take a long time to move these assets. And so bigger assets take longer to liquidate. It's just the nature of real estate. Yeah. Would I buy a cottage in the Muskokas? No, definitely not. I'm going to be here enjoying the time, and I love the Muskokas, but I would always just rent when I'm up here. It's too far. It's like a 4-hour drive from London. I love my lodge cottage that's on Lake Huron, near Grand Bend. Beautiful cottage. That's where all my cottages are. It's a 48-minute drive from my house, and I grew up in Sarnia, so like a 25-minute drive from all my connections in Sarnia. So for me, I don't have the logistics in Muskoka. It's more challenging. It's more expensive in Muskoka. There are a number of reasons why I won't personally be investing there, but I think Muskokas are a great place. My grandma had a cottage for a little while in the Muskokas. It was a really, really rundown, small 3-season cottage. It was not, grandeur by any means. Not like this. This place is beautiful. But I would say, I love it. It's still a great place to come. We go to the JW Marriott in the Muskokas there on Rosehart Lake. We go there almost every Christmas. I think the last 15 Christmases we've missed only one. So we love the area. We come up here every single year. I like to be up here on Christmas and New Year's to have that reset. I feel really good being here. So yeah, it definitely is in Canada. The Muskokas is like 2 hours, I guess, sort of northwest, 2.5 hours maybe, northwest of Toronto. 2 hours, I think, northwest of Toronto. Okay, do a couple more questions here. I'm gonna wrap this up. Probably the Wi-Fi is pretty crap being on my cell data here. Okay, next question was, Oh, I see. Okay, Darren's clarifying the question I talked about with that amazing deal. No, that's horrible for you, Darren. So as the seller, I never want to be 100% loan to value. So if the bank brings in 65 and you bring in 35, they have no skin in the game. They could walk tomorrow. They have no equity. If the market drops 10%, your 35% equity is 1/3 gone immediately. So your chance of losing money is really high. You want to be in the 65% loan to value traditional lender spot. The VTB is in second position, meaning the first position mortgage, that's 65% loan to value, has to be repaid in full before you get $1. And they will tack on default fees. They will sort of really be like 75% loan to value before you get any dollars back. Very high risk. I would definitely want the buyer to be putting capital down. Now, as the buyer, I'm always trying to get 0 down deals. Of course, like I want that. I'll oftentimes even like pledge my personal net worth to make the deal from an ROI perspective work. I'll say, hey, look, I'm Mike Rosehart. I've done maybe 150 deals. Here's my track record over the last 13 years in real estate full-time. I'm a realtor. Here's my background. I'm not a first-time buyer. I'm not a second-time buyer. I've done 5 or 10 small deals. My chance of collapsing is so low. Here's my track record of consistent profitability. Here's 100 years of mortgage payments in an investment account that can make you feel comfortable. Here's why you want to do a seller finance with me. So I talk myself up to be very strong. That's what you want to find. So if that person was like me and they had substantial assets, they could afford to buy the house in cash. They don't even need your 35% seller financing. That's when you want to lend to someone. You want to lend to someone who doesn't need your money. You never want to lend to someone who needs the money, who's doing the deal because they have no money. So look into why. It's within your purview. It's within your right to ask the buyer to show you proof of funds, to ask the buyer to show you their current, try to verify their net worth and verify their credit score. And all of those things are really, really important if you're going to accept a deal like that, where you're providing the second mortgage for the entire down payment. Darren, in that situation, it could work if you're getting a really, really high purchase price and you're like, I'm getting way more than the property's worth in the current market. And like, if I lose half of this 35% down, if I lose 17% of that, I'm okay with that because I got such a good sale price and I want to get out of this property. I have no carrying costs. And you run the numbers and maybe it can work. I've seen some scenarios where it can work with the right qualified buyer. But for the most part, I would say them putting zero down, high risk. You got to really qualify that buyer, really, really qualify them and make sure that you can try to get some skin in the game if at all possible. So maybe you do the seller financing, but you charge them a 5%, lender fee. And so they're really putting 5% down as a fee to you up front. And that way they have some skin in the game. Maybe that's the way you could structure it. There's lots of creative things you could do to make the deal start to make sense. But if I was in your position, I wouldn't want to offer that. But again, maybe you want to get the property sold and there's no other buyers and they're working with you. And so there might be something there that you could work with them to find a win-win. Can we invest in your mortgage fund? At some point, yes. If you reach out to me, send me an email, rosehartcapital@gmail.com. Yes, there will be an opportunity for accredited investors, meaning you have more than $1 million in assets or more than 250K, I think is an income, and you declare that you're, all you have to do is basically just a test. It's like a page that says that you are. So you just got to sign that and you say that you are an accredited investor. And then you could invest with me in that. We don't have the structure ironed out yet, but it's coming and it'll be kind of cool. I would definitely love, David, if you wanted to invest sometime in 2024, I'm hoping to roll something out. It's currently just like me and a friend right now doing stuff. And I would like it to be more than just me and a friend doing stuff. I come across more opportunities than I can fund. So people call me like, hey, I need $500,000 for a property. Here's the appraisal. It's worth $700 right now, as is. We're going to turn it into here's the plan. Here's a rental plan. It's worth $850 when we're done. We don't want to go to the bank. We want you to finance it. It's closing in a week. Bank will never even, they wouldn't even get an appraisal done that time. So I'll go conduct my own appraisal. I'll go and I'll charge them for the appraisal fee and I'll do a comparable analysis. I'll pull all the comparable sales and I'll find out what it's worth. And I'll maybe get a second opinion on that. I'll hire someone to give me a second opinion to make sure that I'm spot on the value. And then I'll do a credit check on them, whatever, do all the due diligence. Then we'll get that basically funded for them. If the deal makes sense, if the numbers work, we might charge them 15% interest. We might charge them setup fees. To them, it's worth it because they're doing it for such a short period of time. Even if it's 20% interest, if it's only for 6 months, that costs them 10%. Whereas a bank, they're gonna have to go through all this rigmarole. They may not get it approved. Banks don't like to do flip funding, period. They just don't like to do it. So there's sometimes no other option. And if they're buying with enough margin in their flip, losing 10% is not a lot. You bake that in. If the property's worth $900,000, $1 million when it's done, to pay 10% on the mortgage is 50 or 60 grand in interest. That's nothing. If their profit margin is $200,000-$300,000, that's 20 or 30% of their net profit. That's not a big deal. So again, that's where it can be a win-win situation. And I look for those. And there's more of those than I currently have capital for right now. And so I'm thinking maybe a fund is necessary. Why do I let those deals pass up and pass by, right? When there's, people are happy making 12% almost risk-free yield, right? And I mean real risk-free. There's a lot of equity funds out there that are inflating their values, that are raising capital, that are putting you in these funds that are in last secured position. So they're in the equity position. And they'll throw a first and a second mortgage on, and their fund is over here with not a lot of value. They'll inflate their values. So the buildings, and they'll take huge acquisition fees and all the other crap. And their investors actually are taking huge risk to get 12 to 15% return. I can give 12% with no risk, like virtually no risk. 70% loan to value is virtually no risk. Like someone else has come in and put 30% into the purchase price before you lose a dollar, they lose everything. So that's just, you will always want to be in first secure position if you can. You don't really want to be in second secured position. You definitely don't want to be in third secure position. And after third secure position is equity. So the equity holder has the most amount of risk, the highest chance of losing their money. So be careful when you invest in real estate equity funds. Just be careful with that. Seems like making offers on homes would take a lot of time, Hong Kong Fui says. How do you quickly determine what to offer on homes? Yeah, I mean, when I say I used to say this, I would look at a 1,000, I would offer on 100, I would write up offers on 10, and I would get one successfully executed. I've gotten better at that over time, where when I'm looking at them, it's me looking at the listing. I might quickly talk to the agent for like 2 seconds and throw a verbal out there and feel them out. If they're like, no, my seller will definitely not move at all, I don't even bother. But if they're like, you know what, there's some play here, some flexibility. I chat a little further. We do a verbal discussion. They come back, they say, we can make something work. If I feel there's any hope, then I'll write up an offer. And of those offers I write up, a lot of the time, the seller would just flat out reject that. And so that's the game. And yes, it takes a lot of time. To do real estate well and to make a lot of money at it, it's a full-time job, a job. It's work. It's a business. You have to put time in. People think, a lot of guys go into real estate thinking, oh, I can just buy the first property I see, and like all landlords are created equal. They're not. Like most landlords make almost no money. Most investors get shit returns. You want to be the top 25% of investors, and that requires an edge. It requires you to have some sort of alpha or some sort of edge. And developing that edge requires you to continue to put in time and to build an experience of probably thousands and thousands of hours. What are your thoughts on the company arrived homes? I have no idea. I've never even heard of it. So I can't comment at all, David. How are you able to start investing in USA? So you can work with partners to start. It's a great way to do it. Also, the Canadian banks will allow you to buy property down there. Bank of Montreal, TD, I believe CIBC has an arm. I know I'm with BMO and TD, and they have offices in Florida with their private banking from Canada to the US. It's a warm handshake to their private bankers there. They'll happily fund deals I want to buy. I want to buy a cottage there or a second home in Florida. Super easy, 75% loan to value. There are a lot of foreign lenders that love Canadians that will lend to us all day long looking at our Canadian credit score. You will have to put 25 or 30% down and maybe 0.5% more in interest, but totally doable to buy property as a Canadian in the US. And then there's also like, you just set up like a Dubai or a Bahamas or a foreign trust or entity, and then go and buy property in the US. And those foreign entity trusts actually can 1031 exchange in the US as a tax alien. Even though you can't as a Canadian because you'd be taxed, your entities could. So there's some really cool structures you can use to avoid double taxation and even to 1031 exchange in the US. Whereas as a Canadian investing in the US, you personally can't 1031 exchange because Canada would tax you. So anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much it for the questions. I made it through them all, which is sweet. I'm gonna walk around here and give you guys one more little show. These ceilings, they're massive, just massive. Beautiful, beautiful. High ceilings, nice, beautiful beams. It's a pretty sweet little cottage. I'll see you guys next week. I'm gonna, okay, I'll give you a little show here. Look at that. Bom, bom, bom.
The remotes are up here.
See you guys.
The remotes are up here.
Oh wait, no, I forgot my catchphrase. I gotta say it. I've never missed it. Can't miss it now. What's the secret to unlocking wealth? You guys know it. The 3 levers to control your financial future, to control your net worth and your growth. Spend less than you earn. So spend less. Find strategies to earn more money, earn more, and maximize the returns and the difference between that. That's it. Those are the 3 levers to controlling your financial future. See you next week, guys. And of course, you guys know where to find me at Mike Rosehart on Instagram, Facebook. Look for the blue check mark, and of course on YouTube. And of course, if you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button, jump in the comments, and throw me a message. It would just be really great because the algorithm loves when you send comments on the videos. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week.